The pads have finally come on at Miami Hurricanes fall practice.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege or enter promo code LockedOnCollege for a free white tech hat with any purchase. I got the hat right here. I did wear it on yesterday's episode. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. Good one today, my friends. And before we bring on our special guest, so Wednesday's practice, full pads came on. You know who was wearing full pads and going through warm-ups with his teammates? I take this as a sign of progress for left tackle Zion Nelson. We know Zion's working his way back from injury. Mario Cristobal, prior to fall camp, did mention he thinks Zion would be ready to fully participate at some point in fall camp. He's not fully participating yet, but the pads coming on for him, going through warm-ups with his teammates, I take that as a great sign. Let's talk about it with our special guest on today's episode. Our boy Blue, Larry Blustein, South Florida High School Sports, 560 WQAM in South Florida, 6-ring cane. He is the foremost expert on South Florida high school football. Blue, how you doing, sir?
Good. No complaints. We're about underway, 2 weeks away from the kickoff in high school, college right after that. So we've waited the 8.5, 9 months for all this stuff to happen. And isn't it crazy how, we focus in on a sport like football, which is 3.5 to 4 months long, but we have a triple the off season. So yeah, it's crazy, but nevertheless, it's here and we're excited about it.
So, Blue, let's talk a little bit about Zion. He's, again, positive signs, still working his way back. Miami definitely has a little bit more depth on the offensive line than they did a season ago. So maybe they're more equipped to survive without Zion. But if Zion Nelson can be healthy, especially in that Texas A&M game week 2, what kind of a difference can Zion Nelson make as your starting left tackle?
Well, Alex, we've been waiting for Zion for the last couple of years. 2 years ago, after the season was over, everybody's projecting him as a first-round NFL draft choice, saying he's one of the best in the country. He really has not been able to get on the field to put, to put those comments to use. But, I look back a year ago, from now and look at the depth at offensive line, and you sit there shaking your head and you kind of laugh. You say, oh my gosh, they were going into a season with this. And, I've made no bones about it. And I've told everybody, and I've said, whether it be on our radio show or any of the other things that we do, our, 6-ring cane show on Monday night, Miami had the worst roster they've ever had. In my time of doing this since 1960, at least being around it, Miami's never had a worse roster than last year. So when everybody wants to quickly blame Mario and everybody else, he inherited a terrible roster. So you know what? I'm not going to defend anybody, but that's the fact. It is. You look at what Miami was down to a walk-on running back. But to get back and answer your question, if he's healthy, look at the difference, because now you have Javion Cohen. You also have the kid Lee, who everybody's talking about. I mean, he was so productive in the spring and so well respected. He was one of the guys that they brought up to the ACC media days. So Zion is just, he's a big, strong, very agile guy. He's intelligent. He's quick. He's somebody that has already picked up the position. It's just that he hasn't been healthy enough to do it. But if he does stay healthy, I mean, you look at Miami's line and what it becomes and the depth that you have. And, I mean, everybody, when he was recruited, was thinking, oh, we're going to need Francis Mauigoa today, because of the fact of the lack of depth. But look what you've added. So I think with Zion in the lineup, And even if he, like you said, even if he eases his way back in, and maybe he's ready for Texas A&M, and maybe he's not. But the whole thing is where you need him is for the ACC season. And if he's ready to go, when they open up, I'll tell you what, I mean, the complexion of this team, and we talked about it last time. When somebody comes up to you and says, hey, how do you think Miami's going to do? And you kind of think to yourself, I don't know. There's 37 new faces on this team. I mean, if you add 5 or 6 guys, it changes the complexion of a team. But what about adding 2 full teams? So, you know what? Zion Nelson elevates the program, and there's no doubt about it. But I agree with you 100%. They're not banking on him, and they've got the talent just in case he doesn't come back or he injures himself. Unlike last year, they were just devastated not to have him. This year, not so much. But, boy, he would be just such an asset.
Now that the pads have come on in practice and the physical contact has increased a little bit, you're going to start to see certain players stand out a little bit more with the increased physicality. Blue, there's a lot to like about Miami's linebacker room this year, some of the young guys they brought in, and someone who really shined with the first day of pads on was Malik Bryant, the true freshman out of Jones High School in Orlando, who is really explosive, very natural pass rusher, Blue. I'd love to hear your scouting report, because I'm sure you covered Mr. Bryant in high school more closely than most people out there did. And do you think this is a player that can get on the field and make a difference as a freshman?
Well, think about this. When Miami was recruiting him, a lot of people were just, we got to have him. He's got to be a must in the class. So when he did commit and eventually did sign, there were a lot of people who said, you know what? Give this young man an opportunity to get on campus. And once he does, I'm going to show you what he did. Because at Jones, he kind of freelanced. He did what he really wanted to do, whether he wanted to be a rush end, outside linebacker, inside, because he was big, strong, fast, and he was probably as good as anybody that, in the state of Florida. So fast forward a year, and here's somebody right now who's only doing what everybody expected him to do. I mean, the only thing that he'll lack, just like Malago or any of these other freshmen, and another guy we'll talk about at a later date is Popo, and he's turning it out as well. I talked to some of the coaches over there, and they're thinking, and you and I talked about him when he first committed, how much of an asset he was going to be, but Malik is just one of those guys, especially at the position of linebacker, where right now they have legitimately 3 guys. I mean, Francisco Mauagoa, Mauagoa's brother, who's Francisco. Is that I can't
Francis is the offensive lineman. Francisco's the linebacker,
and also Wesley Basaint and Corey Flagg. I mean, who people want to keep shoving Corey Flagg off to the side, but he's been their leading tackler the last couple of years, and he's been the dog. So now you add a Bryant or a Popo or one of these guys that are starting to emerge for them, and things get a lot more interesting. And that's why when you look at it, depth becomes more of a priority to getting better, and they have. And he's really going to be a difference maker, and he'll get on the field. You can't, like they say, you can't park the Ferrari in the garage. I mean, you got to take it out for a test drive. And he's going to get the depth chart. He really definitely will. He's too big and too strong and too much of an asset.
We're going to talk some recruiting on the other side. I got to tell you, from my understanding, things I've been told over the last 24 hours, Miami has a shot at Colin Simmons tonight. I'm a lot more optimistic today than I was a day ago about Miami's chances to land the 5-star edge out of Duncanville, Texas. He is going to be announcing tonight around 7 p.m. So I want to get the full scouting report from Larry Blustein on Colin Simmons and how he would fit in if he does decide to become a Cane. We're going to have that and more coming up for you right after this. We're only getting started. Larry Blustein is with us on an all-new episode of Locked On Canes. I am only getting started on FanDuel. And if you haven't gotten started yet, now's the time to do it, because football season is about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long. Because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time that team wins in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. So if you want to pick your Miami Dolphins, and when they win in the regular season, you get bonus bets all the way to the Super Bowl championship. I'm going to be all over that, my friends. You can use your bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. We are available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. Larry Blustein joins us. And for the everydayers, we are going to talk with the truth teller, Bruce Warner, tomorrow. You know, on Saturday, we're going to have a full review of Canes Fest after that scrimmage out there. Blue, I know you're a busy guy this time of year. Am I going to see you at Canes Fest on Saturday?
Well, you know what? It all depends, because we're supposed to be at there's a referee scrimmage with 8 teams playing, but there's a chance that it might be called off because of the fact that the heat, and they don't want the kids to be out in the heat. So if not, I'll be over there.
So if you're not sweating out there, you'll be sweating
You'll
over.
Be sweating.
Yeah, you're gonna be sweating somewhere, regardless.
Somewhere.
All right. So 7 o'clock tonight, Blue. This is Thursday, August 10th. 7 o'clock tonight. 5-star edge rusher Colin Simmons is going to be announcing. He's got 3 hats on the table tonight: LSU, Texas, and Miami. I'm not dropping a Donno ball. I'm not quite there. I've got to be pretty much 100% if I'm going to drop a Donno ball, but I do have kind of renewed confidence in the last 24 hours that Miami does have an opportunity to land Colin Simmons. We know he and his family have bonded very, very well with Jason Taylor. We'll see if that plays any dividends. But Blue, this is someone you've probably watched him. I say this a lot. Blue has scouted this guy more than most have. What can you tell Miami fans and any Texas fans and LSU fans who might be watching this? What can you tell us about Colin Simmons?
Yeah, big-time kid, come off the side as an edge rusher, 6'3", in the 225, 230 range, very athletic, almost impossible to stop one-on-one. You got to chip him a little bit at the line of scrimmage to stop him. But once he's got long arms and he gets out there, and I'll tell you what, this is a kid that's a huge asset. And what I think this comes down to is a Jason Taylor versus Jeff Banks deal, because Jeff Banks at Texas is somebody who's picked up a lot of momentum in recruiting. He's been in a lot of living rooms, and he's a really, really outstanding coach and a real good guy. But Jason Taylor, I did just think so much pushes the needle. And I think when a parent gets an opportunity to see him in their living room and talk to him and understand that who you're talking to here is someone who was not only a great Hall of Famer, but has been a proven coach. He's really done a good job. He's just not a dude that they brought in and said, oh, well, he was in the Hall of Fame. We're going to get him because he's going to be a good recruiter. I've watched him coach the last 6 years at St. Thomas Aquinas in high school, the last 2 years at the University of Miami. And he could be that difference maker, because now he has arguably a guy 2 kids that he pretty much tutored and developed. One, Nick Benito, who's with the Denver Broncos, was a draft pick with the from Oklahoma. And the other is Dallas Turner, who may well be a top 5 NFL pick this year out of Alabama. Somebody that he took, Dallas transferred for his senior year over to St. Thomas Aquinas, and you could definitely see the difference. So if he puts those 2 kids in front, of Colin Simmons and his family, people want to see results. And obviously Miami's right in there. Texas is a hometown team. LSU, what can you say? LSU's a really, really good program. But here's the fact, is that Miami has a lot of these young kids, much like Colin Simmons, and they're developing. And the thing that you sell is, because remember, everyone goes, well, Miami can only recruit this guy or that way. They can't have that many. Look at Alabama. Look at Georgia. Look at Oklahoma. Look at Ohio State. When they lose kids, they still have them. And that's where Miami needs to be. And somebody like Colin Simmons and the kid Wayne, who they got, in this class, who's already, leaving a mark, that's how you add depth. And I think that in the end, if Miami gets him, it'll be because of Jason Taylor and what he represents.
Let's go to the offensive side of the football. We'll stay in recruiting, though, but this is a class of 2025. Miami has received a crystal ball prediction from Steve Wiltfong to land 2025 quarterback out of Alpharetta, Georgia, Luke Nickel. And, I know that some people like 2025, that's so long from now, but a lot of the 2025 quarterbacks have already been committing. So a lot of those dominoes have been falling pretty early here, Blue. Have you had a chance to scout Luke Nickel? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I have. I watched them only because of the fact that they're playing in the Broward County Showcase, Milton High School against Western, who has a lot of studs themselves. And Davy Belford, who's the starting quarterback for Western, is committed to Virginia Tech. So you're going to have quite a showdown between, a 2024 kid who's on the way to Virginia Tech and a 2025 kid who's being recruited by Miami and Boston College and a ton of other schools. This is a kid that's about 215 pounds. He's about 6'2". He throws the ball around extremely well. He's quick, but he's a good drop back type of guy. He could fit into a spread offense. Very intelligent kid. And like I say, we'll see more. Like I say, we'll see more of him live and in person on the 24th of August when they play in South Florida. And this is somebody might remember Miami already has for the 2024 class a kid from Georgia, so this is somebody that they're looking at, thinking, what, let's get secure with one of our quarterbacks for 2025. And this kid's highly rated. I think he's only going to get better. Because remember, he's kind of a baby, and then, he only had a sophomore year to prove himself, but, tell you what, you can't go wrong. I mean, being on the radar. A year ago, Miami would never been on his radar. And that just shows you everything that's gone on, from the new coaching positions, the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. I mean, you get somebody like, coming into your living room that's been there, done that, and Miami's growing. And then that's the one everybody wants to be on the ground floor. Because if you go to Georgia, you go to Alabama, you go to some of those powers, you may not have the opportunity that you have at Miami to get on the field a lot earlier.
It's really well said by Larry Blustein. Something I want to go over with Blue when we come back is, so we have the first top 25 poll from the Locked On Network. All of the hosts, myself included, voted on our top 25. I tried to give Miami a little bit of love, guys. Did it help? Did Miami make the top 25? And how many top 25 teams are on Miami's schedule? The inaugural Locked On preseason top 25 is out. I want to break down Miami's strength of schedule and how quickly could Miami move up in those rankings. We will get to that and so much more here on Locked On Canes. We talk all about that heat out there. I'm going to be all right on Saturday, and that's because I'm going to be wearing my Bird Dog shorts at Canes Fest. That's how I keep cool during these summer months. Bird Dogs make you look good with their stretch khaki shorts. They are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. My wife always compliments me when I wear my Bird Dogs. Nothing better than that. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they fit way better. And they fit way better than regular shorts that are made of that stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but it stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice any movement. And most importantly for us South Floridians with that humidity out there, Bird Dogs uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. So go to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege or enter promo code LockedOnCollege for a free white tech hat with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedoncollege or promo code LockedOnCollege for a free white tech hat. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off, we promise you. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. And for the everydayers, if you want to take your everydayer experience to the next level, sign up for our exclusive SMS texting service through Subtext. I include a link in the show description below. You get text messages directly from my phone to your phone with practice updates, breaking news, recruiting scoops. You can ask me one-on-one questions on there. So take advantage of this awesome service, and you can try it free for 14 days. You have nothing to lose if you want to check it out. Just click the link in the show description below, and then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. We give you a lot of added value on there. All right, Blue, without further ado, are you ready to see the Locked On Network preseason top 25?
Yes, I am. Bring it on.
So I have it for you. So no surprise, Georgia number 1, Michigan number 2, Ohio State 3, Bama 4th, USC 5th. I think it's going to be a strong year for USC. LSU number 6. I just hope they beat up Florida State week 1. After that, they can do whatever they want to do. Penn State 7. Manny Diaz in that defense. Then Clemson 8, Florida State 9, Washington 10, Texas 11, Utah 12, Tennessee 13, Notre Dame 14, Oregon 15, Kansas State 16, North Carolina 17, TCU 18, Oregon State 19, Wisconsin 20, Ole Miss 21, Oklahoma 22, Texas Tech 23, Iowa 24, and Texas A&M number 25. So then, Blue, if I look this over, top 25 teams Miami's got on the schedule, they've got number 8, Clemson, 9, Florida State on the schedule, 17, North Carolina, number 25, Texas A&M. So, listen, by ACC standards, this is not an easy schedule for Miami this year.
No, not at all. I think the first thing that I noticed when I looked at it is there's 16 from the soon-to-be defunct Pac-12.
Right, yeah, the Pac-4 has got good representation on there.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, when you have it's kind of funny. But you look at A&M, and obviously that's the early hurdle for Miami. And, you'd like to see them come out, and win that game and establish themselves and say, hey, you know what? If they were 25 and we beat them, shouldn't we at least get some, votes? Because after, Miami's first 5 games are really not tough other than the A&M game. So the pollsters might say, okay, they beat A&M. It was a home game. Let's wait till they get to North Carolina and Clemson. And if they win there, I think that's most likely going to happen. When you're 5, if they were 8-4 last year, then I could say, okay, but they were 5-7. And I think that's just a normal, reaction. You and I know better, and we understand how much Miami's improved. But the average person in Dubuque, Iowa doesn't, and they don't care. They just see 5-7 from a year ago.
Right.
And you look back, and Miami really should have beaten A&M last year in College Station. So I think that they're going to look at that game, and obviously it's going to be a big win for Miami. But I think you'll start getting more of the love when you play North Carolina, you play Clemson, you play NC State. And I'll tell you what, like you said, in addition to those teams that you have up there, look at Louisville, look at NC State. Those teams are no pushover. So Miami's got a tough schedule, and still, is a long way to go. But I think, if they start crashing in a couple of doors that nobody figured they would, they'll get their due. But right now, you and I in the Hurricane Nation are feeling one way, and people in in New York and Illinois are thinking, hey, you know what? Let Miami prove themselves. They didn't make a bowl game last year, and and that's the one thing that I take away from last year more than anything this offseason is the fact that I had to watch New Mexico State and Eastern Michigan play bowl games. And I think that it's so imperative for Miami to make a bowl this year. It's just no ifs, ands, or buts. They've got to make a bowl this year, and then everything will change. A lot of young talent, a lot of new faces, but I think it's going to add up to a lot of surprises this year. And I think that, as you and I said, maybe that North Carolina game, which everybody, is holding over. And I'm really kind of surprised that North Carolina's ranked because they're really Drake May and very, very little after that. I mean, let's be faced. They lost all 5 linemen. I mean, they lose 3 of the 6, of their front 7 on defense. So, I think that Miami's got a chance to beat somebody like that. Louisville and NC State as well. But I like the position they're in. You much rather see them not ranked than ranked off the beginning, so no one really is paying much attention.
Yeah, and I like this this a lot. We're going to be all the Locked On College hosts will be voting on this, every single week. Once the season starts, it's going to be a fluid top 25 throughout the year, so it's a good opportunity for all of our hosts. And Blue, to pick up on what you're saying, I have zero problem whatsoever with Miami missing the top 25 preseason. No problem with it, because go out there and prove it, right? You know, you and I and most of our listeners and viewers, we all follow what Miami has done to the roster and the overhaul and the talent acquisition.
And nobody else knows.
But they haven't proven a thing, though. Like, they still have not proven a thing. So go out there, win some games, beat A&M, go out there, beat a North Carolina, try to take a game from a team like Clemson or Florida State you're going to be big-time underdogs against, and go out there and prove it. I have no problem with it, because last year, we talk about how bad the roster was last year. They still shouldn't have gone 5-7. They shouldn't have lost to Middle Tennessee. So underperforming, I have zero problem whatsoever with Miami being off the preseason top 25. They have to go out there and prove it and earn it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And the very fact that, scouting Miami is going to be so tough at the beginning, because really, what do you have to go from? Your quarterback wasn't in place last year. He's back. The offensive line's a whole different deal. Your schemes are a lot different on defense. Your whole offense is going to change dramatically because of that line and because of the depth at running back. We were down last year to a walk-on at running back. That should never happen at a Power 5 school. And that's the difference. And I think you're going to see this year, it's all about coaching. And we saw the development of a lot of these young men, all positives coming out. You talk to Kevin Beard, you talk to Tim Harris, you talk to any of the coach Nicholson. You could talk to any of those coaches about what's going on, and they're all positive. And Kevin Beard and I, we talk a lot. Coach Maribel and I talk a lot. And the one thing is they're always positive about talking about a player who's stepping up. And every time you talk to them, it's a different player stepping up. So, at the end of the day, they've got a lot of kids that they're looking forward to. I'm excited to see this offense because they underperformed last year so much. But that being said, you didn't have an established go-to wide receiver. Your most dependable guy was out for 6 games, and Xavier Restrepo. So if they come back this year, Kobe Young has a really good year. The tight ends have a good year. They have numerous slots now with Burchard and Ray and Washington and tons of kid. They have the kid Harrell, who's just a speedster. So
and he's doing really well, by the way. I get really good feedback on Harrell.
Yeah, you would think. But that's the thing. There's so many unknowns about this team, but they're good unknowns. And that's the thing. You got a lot of good kids who came in from the portal or wherever they came from, but they did so well. I think that they're just excited to get to that first game against Miami of Ohio. And I'll tell you this, there'll be no taking that foot off the gas in any game this year. After seeing Mario Cristobal in the postgame last year and seeing his face after those losses to Middle Tennessee and a terrible performance against Southern Mississippi and having to hang on against Virginia. And, I just think that Miami's changed. Everybody has a different attitude. They've worked way too hard. And if anybody could say anything, when you say you get what you put in, well, then Miami should be a damn good team this year.
I love it. Well, Larry Blustein does a fine job. Let people know, Blue, are you going to be on this coming Monday on 560 WQAM and what folks can expect from your awesome show? It is the most informative show for those who are into recruiting. You're into high school football and college football. You got to check out the South Florida High School Sports Show. Tell us about your upcoming episode on Monday.
Well, I'll tell you that the next 2 episodes are kind of like planned out. And what we've been doing is, I don't think anybody realizes what we've struck gold with this Broward County showcase, because we have coming in arguably the #1 team in the nation in St. John Bosco from California. We also have St. Francis Academy, a powerhouse with some of the top players. St. John's of Washington, D.C., Highland Springs of Virginia, coached by Lauren Johnson, former Virginia Tech kid, who's playing his alma mater in Miramar. Wow. So what we are going to do is the next 2 weeks, we're going to devote to that game. We're going to have all 7 of the local coaches, Roger Harriet, Adam Rakovich, that is going to Mike Smith from American Heritage. They're going to be on the show next week to talk about the game against their opponent. And then the following week, we're going to have all 7 out-of-state teams that are going to be on, and they're going to talk about their experience. But this event is just amazing. The kids pay for their own transportation here, like a flight from California. Once they get here, you know, put your money away. Their bus transportation, every single meal is accounted for. Their hotels, some of them are going on the Jungle Queen. Some of them are going to the Marlin game. So they've got all these activities to show off South Florida. I can't say enough about what they've done. And we're going to have that for 3 straight days in this community. It's about time that our kids don't have to travel across the country.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Larry Blustein. Follow him on Twitter or X at Larry Blustein, and we will talk to you guys again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.